welcome back. Gospel of Mark, 5 minutes at a time. But today and tomorrow it'll be longer because today I'm reading chapter 14 and tomorrow I'm reading chapter 15. There's only 16 chapters and then we have 2 days together after that. But in these 2 days we are going to hear the story of the very end of Jesus' life. The story of how he is captured, denied by his friends, and then tomorrow about how he meets Pilate and how he's crucified. And so today I want you to think about what it means to be rejected. What that feels like to be abandoned, to be sold out. So let's begin. It was 2 days before the Passover and the festival of unleavened bread. The chief priests and the scribes were looking for a way to arrest Jesus by stealth and kill him, for they said, not during the festival, or there may be a riot among the people. While Jesus was at Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, as he sat at the table, a woman came with an alabaster jar of very costly ointment of nard, and she broke open the jar, and she poured the ointment on his head. But some were there who said to one another in anger, "Why was the ointment wasted in this way? For this ointment could have been sold for more than 300 denarii, and the money given to the poor." And they scolded her. But Jesus said, "Let her alone. Why do you trouble her? She has performed a good service for me. For you always have the poor with you, and you can show kindness to them whenever you wish. But you will not always have me. She has done what she could. She has anointed my body beforehand for its burial. Truly I tell you, whenever the good news is proclaimed in the whole world, what she has done will be told and remembered of her." Then Judas Iscariot, who was one of the 12, went to the chief priests in order to betray Jesus to them. They heard it, and they were greatly pleased, and they promised to give him money. So he began to look for an opportunity to betray Jesus. On the first day of unleavened bread, when the Passover lamb was sacrificed, Jesus' disciples said to him, "Where do you want us to go and make preparation for you to eat the Passover?" So he sent 2 of his disciples, saying to them, "Go into the city, and a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him wherever he enters. Say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher asks, where is my guest room, that I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' He will show you a large room upstairs, furnished and ready. Make preparation for us there." So the disciples set out and went to the city and found everything as Jesus had told them, and they prepared the Passover meal. When it was evening, he came with the 12, and when they had taken their places and were eating, Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me, one who is eating with me." They began to be distressed and say to him one after another, "Surely not I." Jesus said to them, "It is one of the 12, one who is dipping bread into the bowl with me. For the Son of Man goes as it is written of him. But woe to the one by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that one not to have been born." While they were eating, he took the loaf of bread, and after blessing it, he broke it, and he gave it to them, and he said, "Take, this is my body." Then he took the cup, and after giving thanks, gave it to them, and all of them drank from it. And he said, "This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many. Truly I tell you, I will never again drink of the fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new in the kingdom of God." When they had sung the hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. And Jesus said to them, "You will all become deserters, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. But after I am raised up, I will go before you to Galilee." Peter said to him, Even though all become deserters, I will not. And Jesus said to him, truly I tell you, this day, this very night, before the cock crows twice, you will deny me 3 times. But Peter said vehemently, even though I must die with you, I will not deny you. And all of them said the same. They went to a place called Gethsemane, and Jesus said to the disciples, sit here while I pray. And he took with him Peter and James and John, and he began to be distressed and agitated, and said to them, I am deeply grieved, even to death. Remain here and keep awake. And going a little further, he threw himself on the ground, and he prayed, if it is possible, the hour might pass from him. He said, Abba, Father, for you all things are possible. Remove this cup from me. Yet not what I want, but what you want. He came and he found the disciples sleeping, and he said to Peter, Simon, are you asleep? Could you not keep awake 1 hour? Keep awake and pray that you will not come into the time of trial. The spirit is indeed willing, but the flesh is weak. And again he went away and he prayed, saying the same words. And once more he came and he found them sleeping, for their eyes were very heavy, and they did not know what to say to him. He came a 3rd time and he said to them, are you still sleeping and taking your rest? Enough! The hour has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up. Let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand. Immediately, while he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived, and with him there was a crowd with swords and clubs from the chief priests and scribes and the elders. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying, the one I will kiss is the man. Arrest him and lead him away under guard. So when he came, he went up to Jesus, and at once he said, Rabbi, and he kissed him. Then they laid hands on Jesus and arrested him. But one of those who stood near drew his sword and struck the slave of the high priest, cutting off his ear. Then Jesus said to them, have you come out with swords and clubs to arrest me as though I were a bandit? Day after day I was with you in the temple teaching, and you did not arrest me. But let the scriptures be fulfilled. All of them deserted Jesus and fled. A certain young man was following Jesus, wearing nothing but a linen cloth. The soldiers got a hold of him, but he left the linen cloth and he ran off naked. They took Jesus to the high priest, and all the chief priests and elders and scribes were assembled. Peter followed him at a distance, right into the court of the high priest, and he was sitting with the guards, warming himself by the fire. Now the chief priests and the whole council were looking for testimony against Jesus to put him to death, but they found none. For many gave false testimony against him, and their testimony did not agree. Some stood up and gave false testimony against him, saying, we heard him say, I will destroy the temple that is made with hands, and in 3 days I will build another not with hands. But even on this point, their testimony did not agree. Then the high priest stood up before them and asked Jesus, have you no answer? What is it that they testify against you? But Jesus was silent, and he did not answer. Again the high priest asked, are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One? Jesus said, I am. And you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming with the clouds of heaven. Then the high priest tore his clothes, and he said, why do we still need witnesses? You have heard his blasphemy. What is your decision? All of them condemned Jesus as deserving death. Some began to spit on him, to blindfold him, and to strike him, saying to him, prophesy. The guards also took him over and beat him. While Peter was below in the courtyard, one of the servant girls of the high priest came by. When she saw Peter warming himself, she stared at him and said, you also were with Jesus, the man from Nazareth. But Peter denied it, saying, I do not know I do not know or understand what you are talking about." And he went out into the forecourt. Then the cock crowed, and the servant girl, on seeing him, began again to say to the bystanders, "This man is one of them." But again Peter denied it. Then after a little while the bystander again said to Peter, "Certainly you are one of them. You are a Galilean." But Peter began to curse, and he swore an oath, "I do not know this man you are talking about." At that moment the cock crowed for the second time. Then Peter remembered that Jesus had said to him, "Before the cock crows twice, you will deny me 3 times." And Peter broke down, and he wept. Rejection. Rejection, rejection. Jesus' dear friends, he shares a meal with him. Judas Iscariot had been traveling with him for years, right, and had seen him as the Messiah, rejected him. Peter, his dear beloved friend, rejected him. He was in anxiety and grief, throwing himself on the ground, praying to God, asking a couple of his good friends to sit with him. They rejected him. A woman, the one person that came with an alabaster jar, broke it open, anointed him. They sought to scold her, and he said, "No, she's the one that will be remembered for her faithfulness, for her prophecy about Jesus' burial. She was the one with no name, who we will remember, who did not reject Jesus." I think all of us, I know I have, in my life, experienced rejection. Somebody who you thought was your friend turns out to not be a very good friend in your life. Maybe you know what that feels like. Or maybe you were that person who rejected somebody else, who when the crowd turned against him, you joined them and turned against them. When they talked to you later and said, "Hey, don't you like that guy?" And you're like, no, I really don't like him, even though he's a friend of yours. And so I invite you today, as we head towards the day of crucifixion, Good Friday, to think about how you've been rejected, but more importantly, who have you denied? Who have you rejected? And when that person comes to your heart, say, pray for them. Pray for them. I'm glad you're on this journey with me. I'm grateful to be with you. Peace upon your soul.